slow down.
Will do.
And put your front plate on.
Oh, yes, sir. Will do. Damn.
Yeah.
This has never happened before. All right, welcome guys to another video. Today we're comparing two BMWs. A BMW M2 Competition 2019, owned by my friend Henry here, and a Supra 2021, also owned by a friend. And today we're gonna see at the $55,000 price range here in the US, which car is a better driver's car? The new Supra with the updated 382 horsepower engine, or the old BMW M2 Competition. I say old because the CS is out now, but this is still a relatively new car. I think you can still buy these at the dealership, right, Henry?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the MSRP on these is a little above the Supras, I think, like high 50s, and if you get a few options, it's easily gonna be in the 60s. But if you get one used like Henry did, you can actually find these for around like 55, high 50s, right?
Yeah.
And they've held their value really well.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about this car. Why did you choose this car? And like, what do you like about it?
So originally I was looking for a F80 M3, but
Okay.
since I already have a daily driver, I didn't need another four-door.
Sure.
And I actually really wanted the M2 Comp because it looks really nice. The front end looks a lot aggressive.
It's interesting because a lot of people say, you know, BMWs and all sports sedans really have been getting bigger and bigger every generation for the last, basically since they've been conceived. And a lot of people say that the F80 M3 and even like the new M3, they're basically M5s, like what the old M5s used to be. Whereas the M2 and the M2 Comp and M2 CS, they really represent what the like E46 generation of M3 and prior to that, kind of that segment, like the small but still daily drivable and comfortable two-door coupe with the back seat. And so that's what we're going to find out today. Is the M2 Comp, should this really just be called an M3? So like you said, S55 engine plugged straight from an F80 M3. I think it's slightly detuned in M2 Comp, so 405 horsepower, 406 foot-pounds of torque. That's like around 20 horsepower and 40 foot-pounds more than the Supra we're about to drive. And that's a good amount of power. This car weighs close to 3,600 pounds. So it's definitely not a lightweight car. And because it is based on a 2 Series, which is by all means essentially like a sedan body style that's been shortened and, you know, the rear doors have been taken off, it's got a pretty high center of gravity. Like, I don't feel like I'm sitting super low. So we'll see if that affects the driving dynamics and how it compares to the more purpose-built Supra. In terms of mods, you have a few things on here, right? So you have the AP Racing front big brake kit.
AST 5100 coilovers.
And those are single adjustable.
Single one-way adjustable, active auto work mid pipe, and just racing wheels, Z40s.
Z40s, okay.
And a bucket seat.
And a bucket seat.
Yeah.
The Bride Zeta 3, which by the way, this is the first time I'm sitting in one. This is a really well-designed seat. It has really high bolsters down here, so good luck trying to get anything out of your pockets while you're driving. But once you're in, you are in, right? So we are in Sport Plus mode for the engine. We have the DCT shift speed at maximum, and then we're comfort mode for the steering, which is nice and light. Wow, the throttle response is insane.
Yeah, it's very sensitive.
It's very sensitive. Downshift mid-corner, very smooth, no problem. Hi, officer, is the road just closed ahead? I'm heading just to the beach. Is the
I
road?
don't care. You're not gonna get there driving like that.
Okay,
Slow down.
will do.
I will let you go when we're clear.
Okay.
And put your front plate on.
Oh, yes, sir, will do. Damn,
Yeah.
this has never happened before.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we have a little pause to the video then. Let's turn these off. All right, well, we just had a quick little mishap where they shut down the road, I think to film or take pictures of the new GR86 or something. But we are back now. Dialed it back to sport mode because Sport Plus, it makes the throttle really touchy and just not very confidence inspiring coming out of a corner. This car has a lot of grip. The front end is really bitey. These are the Federal 595 RS Pros, right?
Yes.
These are 200 tread wear?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're super loud when you just want to cruise, just like the RSRRs I used to have on my S2K. But the grip level seems pretty good. Love this DCT transmission. It's just so seamless. Be really curious to see how it compares to the Supra's 8-speed auto. The way it handles in the corner kind of reminds me of a bigger E46 M3, but with like way more torque. Yeah, this car like wants to move around. It's a huge difference from the previous M2 base, the non-comp. That car felt a lot like it had good mid-range torque, but the engine really died off past around 6,000. This thing just pulls. All right, let's dial this back to traction on, put it into efficient mode. The car tames down quite a bit. I mean, other than the loud tires, this is actually a very, quiet, supple ride. Steering's nice and light now. Shifts are smooth. It keeps the RPMs really low, which is nice. It's a comfortable car. It's a lot more comfortable than an E46 M3. It has sort of a German muscle car-ish kind of feel to it. It just wants to go sideways. It's not really a car that's trying to go as fast as possible through a corner. It's more about just like giving you that feel that you're on the edge all the time. I think that's why it's fun. It's not necessarily all flat out like just full performance mode. It's about having that playful character. So talking about resale for these cars for a moment, MSRP on this, do you know the specific MSRP on this car?
MSRP on this one was around 68.
68?
Yeah.
Wow.
Starting is around 65, 66.
Okay. So actually the MSRP on this car starting is already about 10 grand more than the GR Supra, the 2021 Supra. So putting that into perspective, if you want to compare the two cars at an equal price point, you're looking at a brand new Supra versus a used M2 Comp like this one. Then you're talking about like $55,000 range. All right, so that's the M2 Comp. Let's hop into the 2021 GR Supra now and see if it's even close in terms of driving feel and just overall fun compared to the M2 Comp. All right, so we are back with Ken here. He's been on the channel before in his E92 M3. This is his 2021 Toyota GR Supra 3.0 with a fresh 5,000 miles on the odometer. You just bought this car not that long ago. This is your daily driver. Why did you choose this when you already have an E92 M3? Just curious.
It's fun.
It's fun.
I wanted to buy a 340, but I felt like they were just really bouncy. So
bouncy, like the suspension?
Suspension, yeah. It was just like go over bumps and the car just flies in the air.
Oh,
so
interesting.
I wanted something practical, but it just didn't work. So it was like a C63, the Supra. Look at some, base model Caymans.
Okay, cruising around right now, everything in normal mode or comfort mode. Really comfortable car. I've reviewed a stock 2020 Supra, and I know they made a few changes to this, but overall it feels like, cruising around, it feels like the same car. Very comfortable, amazing suspension compliance, in my opinion, when you're just cruising. Really, really comfortable car. That was the thing I was most blown away with when I drove the 2020. Same engine in this car, right? The BMW B58, 3-liter. Now this is a single twin scroll turbo, whereas the S55, which is like the more motorsport like M engine that's found in Henry's car, that's a true twin turbo. So this for 2021 is updated, right? So it's 382 horsepower.
Yep.
And torque, I think, is still around 368 foot-pounds. So it's down 20 horsepower and down 40 foot-pounds over Henry's M2 Comp. But this car weighs almost 200 pounds less. Now, another big difference between these cars is this has the 8-speed ZF automatic torque converter gearbox, whereas M2 has a 7-speed DCT. And the DCT in that car, I can honestly say, is flawless. Upshifts are nice and quick. Downshifts are really, really snappy. It just gives you that snap, snap, snap whenever you pull a paddle. And if I recall correctly, when I drove the 2020 Supra, the 8-speed is quick to upshift, but the downshifts, you can just feel it drag a little bit. Like, they're still fast, but you can tell it's a torque converter. So I think just in terms of refinement, right, this car is a small notch above the M2 Comp. It's not a huge difference, but you can definitely tell. And I'm not just talking about the tire noise. Now, granted, he is on AST coilovers, so that might be the real reason. But, I mean, I'm just so relaxed driving this thing. It's great. I like that you can adjust the seat down, so the seating position's nice and low. When you're driving this car, or at least when you're sitting in it even, you get the sense that it's actually a much bigger car. Even though you're sitting low, the distance between the driving position and the windshield, I can't even reach the windshield from here.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot more of a cramped feeling inside, and it feels like everything's just kind of far away. But the actual windows are actually very short. Two things I'm noticing. Transmission's not as snappy as expected compared to the M2. Second thing is the engine just sounds so fake.
Yeah.
The S55 just sounds raw, mechanical, even though it's turbo. Makes a really good sound at higher RPMs. This feels a little synthesized, I must say. All right, lots of mid-range torque in the B58 engine. I think this engine actually feels more flexible in the mid-range than the S55. It also doesn't rev as high though. Redline around 6,500. I mean, this feels good. All right, so everything in sport, steering in normal. Let's try that.
Pop, pop, pop.
Yeah, I like that exhaust. All right, so one thing I'm noticing in common with the M2, numb steering.
Yeah.
Very numb steering. No feedback whatsoever. The weighting's nice and linear, but you really don't feel what the front tires are doing. Yeah, these downshifts feel a little sluggish compared to the dual clutch, but still really impressive for an automatic. Interesting. I think the chassis of this car is really impressive, maybe just as impressive as the M2 Comp, but you can tell it's not the true motor, like it doesn't have the true M parts, because ultimately this is a BMW, right? And you can tell they put just the normal, like, sporty but not true M parts in this car. The engine, the transmission, it all kind of feels a little bit more sluggish compared to the M2, which just feels like a lot more immediate and responsive. It's surprising because the last time I drove the 2020 Supra, I was just blown away with everything. Like, I thought that car was amazing. But now driving it back to back with the M2 Comp, now I'm starting to realize where BMW/Toyota sort of cut corners a little bit. But that said, I mean, that wasn't a perfect test of this car. Maybe one day if we can get some more wide open roads, we can test the car a little better. But, you know, I gotta say, this car is really impressive. The price ultimately reflects what you get. I think if you're looking for lap times or you're looking for the fastest car you can have for $55K, this might be it. So which car do I prefer between the Supra, the 2021 Supra, and the M2 Comp? Me personally, I like the M2 Comp, just because even if it's not as fast outright as the Supra around a track, the feeling that it gives me when I'm just driving on a windy road, it just feels like a more responsive car with the added benefit that you get a lot more space, a lot more usability. This car feels 90% as good, but the transmission and the engine are the two things that let it down slightly for me. So overall, I love both cars. If it's me personally, I take the M2 Comp. That said, for a track car, this might make more sense. Maybe if we have a chance to do a better test of these two cars in the future, let's do it. But for now, that is my verdict. Thanks guys for watching. Let me know what you think between the M2 Comp and the Supra. Do the lap times really matter, that extra point, whatever, 2 of a second? Or do you think the extra response of the M2 is where it's at? Thanks for watching. See you guys next time.